Girls. What was the most obvious hint you dropped? And the guy just didn't get it? We were playing life and he was the police officer. The rule is, if you spin a 10, he gets your speeding fines. I literally pulled open my button down and exposed my BSTS and said, "What can I do to get out of paying this?" He said, "Ma'am, I am an officer of the law. Are you trying to prostitute yourself to me?" A couple days of flirting and say UAL innuendo later, I literally had to spell out that I was trying to F him. We've been together 6 years now. Yo, that dude is serious about his role-playing. I'm the guy in this situation. But I couldn't help not sharing this story. In college, this girl I was really into asked if I wanted to hang out at my dorm and drink and watch Netflix. She came over and we were watching and drinking on the couch in the living room. Per my suggestion, things are going good, and about an hour into it she says, "Ooh, let me see your room." So we go to my room. She takes her shoes and socks off and immediately sprawls herself out on my bed and says, "Oh my god. Your bed is so comfortable." I responded with, "We live in the same building. It's the same bed as yours." She left about 10 minutes later. Oh my king god dude, lol. Honestly, I think I reacted in a similar way. He told me my hair looked nice. I said, "Bet it would look nicer with your hands in it." He said, in a very confused tone, single quote dot, "You want me to style your hair? This one is great." At least he managed to say he was clueless. We were talking about canoes and I said, "I'm like a canoe because I'm wet and you can go inside me," and he said, "Canoes aren't really wet." Edit. Some PPL think he was rejecting me, but we ended up dating for 2 years. The thing is, if he did acknowledge the sign, how should he have responded? Cowabunga. When my boyfriend and I had just started dating, we were laying down watching a movie. But this was a small bed and he was being respectful and giving me space. I kept wiggling backwards so I could get closer to him and he kept inching backwards too. Since he thought I was just trying to get comfortable and he was in the way, he ended up sitting in a chair next to the bed. 3 years later we are still together. And I still think it's pretty funny. He told me that when he was in the chair he purposefully left his hand next to me in case I wanted to hold it. But I guess I missed that sign too. He didn't get out of the bed because he was uncomfortable. He truly thought he was taking up too much space and didn't realize I was trying to cuddle. This one made me laugh out loud. Imagining him scooting all the way off the bed just to give you space is so sweet. Lol. We were so awkward when we first started dating. Apparently both of us would awkwardly leave out hands next to the other to initiate hand holding, but neither of us noticed. I threw my ties at him and he kept explaining God of War lore. This one wins. A couple of weeks ago, to my boyfriend of 3 years, me undresses and lays Ed on the couch, waiting to bone. Him makes dumb joke. "Ooh, you're Ed. That's so weird." Me dies a little bit inside. He probably knew but just wasn't in the mood. Anyway, here comes a similar situation from me. Guy, my ex was more flirty than usual when she wanted my attention. Putting her hands on my thighs, things like that. After more failed attempts than I care to admit, I just gave up on thinking those were signs she wanted something more. Sometime later she complains, "Why am I always the one to come to you for sex? Show some initiative." After chatting for hours on top of a mountain from sunset until like 2 a.m. Sharing a blanket. Me leaning my head on his shoulder. Telling him he's attractive, etc. He turns to me and says, "How do you tell if a girl is into you?" He suspected that you were hinting and gave you a way to confirm or deny. Good move on his part. I want to agree with you. But my answer was something like, "If they hang out with you late at night, try and make a lot of physical contact. Compliment you." And he said, "Ah, cool," and then drove me home. We've talked about that night since and he said he genuinely didn't think that I was into him. Honestly, the boy has not received a ton of affection in his life, so when I threw some at him he just did not know what to think of it. I'm a guy, but I once had an experience where I took the hint but still got rejected. A girl had asked me if I lost my virginity yet. We were in high school. When I said I hadn't, she said that I could practice on her whenever I want. Mind you, we walking home after school because we lived close. I try to act on this hint when we get to her house and she said she was only joking and doesn't want it to be weird with us as friends. Is it possible to get secondhand depressed? Because I think I just did. Pretty sure that's called empathy. Before we started dating, I told my current boyfriend, I love you, and he said, aw, I love you too, you're such a good friend. The whole time we thought we were both friend-zoning each other. Wasted half a year going in circles SMH. I guess it does get a little tricky being a guy. 'Cause I would never want to make a girl feel uncomfortable. Or that I'm forcing her into something. It kinda makes friendly gestures and hints sound real similar. It's best to be friendly. Guy here. Was invited back to study by one of the girls in my class at her apartment. We're about half hour in and she says she might take a shower. I'm like okay, kinda random, but okay. Anyway, she starts telling me the door to the shower is broken so don't come in. Says it 3 or 4 more times. Again. I'm like okay, weird, she's said that multiple times, but okay. Hour later the shower is still running. I can hear her singing and humming away so I know she's okay and hasn't drowned. Thinking gee, that's a long shower though. Water goes off and she comes out dressed and says you didn't come in? I'm confused as I'm like WTF, she told me not to. She sits back down, clearly distracted and not wanting to study. We wrap up after 5 minutes. Drive home. Mate asks me how study was about a week later and the situation, which I hadn't given a single brain cell of thought to since, I explained to him. As I'm saying it out loud the penny drops as to what a big FK head I am. She's the idiot, not you. She literally told you not to come in. It's entirely reasonable not to come in. Can you believe that creep of pervert came in after I told him 4 times not to? So answering in lieu of my late wife here I, husband, am dumb. Like. Really dumb. She and I met and became friends very quickly. But I didn't know she apparently had a huge crush on me. I thought she was out of my league. And apparently she thought I was out of her league too. But she couldn't stop the feels. She rubbed her feet on me while we were talking. Asked me in detail about my package. Gave me her phone number with the line, hit me up if you want pizza and SX. We went out for lunch. She offered to fillet me for a Dr. Pepper. And she was very insistent that we got meat lovers pizza when I asked her what she wanted for watching a movie later. After we watched the movie, she was in my bed. I figured she was just wanting to keep warm and cuddle. But she strutted into my bathroom stark naked and I had some DDs staring at me. She kissed me and told me, I want you to F me. You idiot. A regular romance story there. In my defense, she had a really warped sense of humor and I thought she was kidding with all that stuff. It felt so natural with us being friends that the thought didn't even cross my mind until she propositioned me that there was potential for more. I'd had some really F'd up exes and I thought romance was something where I had to jump through hoops for the other person and wait on them hand on foot. But she was different. That's why she was the one who I got on one knee for. Advice to the ladies out there, if my wife telling me, I want you to F me, got through my legendarily thick skull. I think as a last resort that'll get through to anybody. This was really sweet. And I hope you're doing okay. I asked a guy on a festival to come take a shower with me. He didn't get it. He just repeated there was only one free shower and I was like, well they are big, I'm sure it's fine, and he just looked confused and told me I could go first. We became close friends since that happened about 2 years ago and this summer I spoke to him about it and he really had no idea. He did the biggest facepalm I've ever seen. Before my boyfriend asked me out. He kept hinting at the fact that we were both single and everyone though we would be cute together. I was like, haha. Yeah, not realizing he was trying to ask me out. Wait, this happens in reverse. Not just guys missing hints? Definitely does. I'm a woman who doesn't get any type of flirting that isn't a pickup line that sounds like a pickup line. I do not get hints. My so has been the one to point out to me that at least 4 guys, who I met before my so, definitely attempted a move on me that I never got. When I told him about all the nice guys I met that made such good friends. I'm oblivious. To an embarrassing degree. I'm not as brutally upfront as some of these people but mine happened yesterday. How do I know a girl is flirting with me? He asks. She touches you a lot while you two are talking. I cannot relate at all. That never happens to me. I'm sure it does. I tell him and hit his arm. I can't think of any time that's ever happened. Single quote. See. This is a rough one. Because I had this one girl I'd talk to all the time. And she'd sit next to me in class. I had a huge crush on her. And she'd be overly touchy all the time. She'd occasionally even rest her head on my shoulder, sleep on it during class when she was tired. Just stare into my eyes for prolonged periods of time. And hug me. When I told her I had a crush on her, she shut me down completely. And told me she only saw me as a friend, smiley face. For Valentine's a couple of years ago, I mailed my husband a package. The note said, and I quote, "I want you now." I was ready to spring into some extra fun SXY time whenever he opened the package. I had to sit him down and explain a couple of hours later. He was like, "Oh. Single quote. Yeah. My wife's learned to just holler, 'Come to bed now.' Otherwise I'm a Doomba that doesn't get it." On our first date, my current boyfriend and I went out to dinner, to a bar, and eventually back to his house to watch scary movies. After hanging out for almost 8 hours at that point, practically cuddling into him the entire time we were watching movies, dropping as many hints as I could. Around 3 a.m. when we were both fighting to stay awake, I finally had to look his Doomba in the eye and ask, "So are you going to kiss me or not?" Though he was totally oblivious. It did show his good heart. He was about to let me fall asleep on his couch and spend the night without even trying to kiss me. I knew he was a keeper after that. Greater than though he was totally oblivious. It did show his good heart. He was about to let me fall asleep on his couch and spend the night without even trying to kiss me. I knew he was a keeper after that. His evil plan worked flawlessly. The long con. Guy here but once had a girl drag me into the bathroom while at a college party saying she needed help finding her marker pen. We didn't find it and I figured out what was really going on a year later. It was in her BU hole. When I was about 35, I lived in a beach town near a university. My neighbors were all college kids. Next door was 2 college girls. One was always flirting with me. One hit summer day, she turned up at my door in nothing but a long t-shirt. She asked if she could hang out in the AC. I said sure and she came over to the sofa I was sitting long ways on and laid with her back to my chest and asked if we could snuggle. I was okay with that. She then asked me to rub her belly. Which I did. As you can imagine, after about an hour, I was getting a little worked up and touched her ass. While rubbing her belly, she jumped up and stormed out. I was like, WTF? She later said she didn't see me like that. I asked her why she'd show up almost naked, lay between my legs like couples do and ask me to rub her belly and then get pissed when I try to progress things. She said she looks at me like a big brother. I was like, WTF is your family like? And that is why so many guys in this thread didn't get the hints. It isn't a universal thing. Yep, I know some girls that if they brushed against your hand, that's clearly a sign they're flirting with you. At the same time, I know a girl who could be holding your hand and it means absolutely nothing. Currently trying to figure out that latter girl actually. I had a girl invite me round her house once just to show me her posters. They were all of Harley Davidson motorbikes. And she said she's never ridden a Harley before. Awkward silence and after a few other sort bits of small talk I decided to be on my way. 2 years later I'm sitting on the bus and realize what she meant. Harley. Ridden a Harley. My name is Harley. Damn, I feel so bad for her. That's a perfect line too. One time a girl straight up asked if I wanted to take my pants off and I didn't get it. I was like, nah. They're actually not uncomfortable at all. Usually when girls ask you to take off your pants, it's for their comfort. No one wants to come in contact with the kind of tough fabric a lot of pants are made of when they're sleeping. Also, always take off your belt. That's just cruel to accidentally poke someone with your belt buckle. Literally said, I want to be yours and the dude just keeps smiling and goes on about random space facts. That one hurt a bit. I am a guy, but I can share my density as the guy that missed the hints. I went to a store where there was a girl I liked in college. We used to small talk while I browsed and never bought anything. Bring a poor college student. This time I came in the store and she said and we chatted a bit while I shopped. She complained, I'm going to be home alone tonight. My family is out of town. Single quote dot. I replied, oh that's too bad. Single quote dot. She says, I'm off at 5 today, it was 4 at the time. What are you up tonight? I'm up for anything. Oh nothing. Just sitting at home and watching a movie. Single quote dot. My brain must have completely self-destructed. Because the conversation ended there. I never saw her again after that. She either quit, or was avoiding me. I must have been in a daze from school to miss that cue. School does that to me too. Plus the fact that I'm shy and therefore believe I never get attention adds to the oblivious bliss. I once was modeling clothes I planned to take on vacation for my boyfriend. After showing off a couple of outfits, I told him to close his eyes and changed into lingerie. He opened his eyes and I asked him what he thought. His jaw dropped and he said, "You can't wear that outside." I put my clothes back on. How could you not jump his bones after such comedic genius? Not a girl. But I was staying a night at a hotel. And the hotel bar had just closed. I went out front for a smoke and start chatting with two women. We shoot the S for a few minutes and then all head back into the hotel and to the elevator. We get in. They press 15. I press 9. And one of them turns to me and says, "I don't suppose there's a secret bar on the 9th floor we can go to?" My dumma responds, "No. But you can grab a cab and be at a bar in 10 minutes. Then the doors open and I leave. He invited me to his house to watch a movie after a few dates. He ended up playing League of Legends for hours while I was laying in his bed and asked him many times if he would like to join. Sorry, just one more match. We dated for 2 years. We matched on Bumble, dating app that the girl has to talk first, and I started a convo with him. He thought I just matched him because we were friends. No, it's a dating app. We didn't start dating until almost a year after that. We are married now. What girls don't realize is that guys have to ride an incredibly thin line between being a dog and being a gentleman. Girls want a guy who won't paw at them the whole courtship, but who will recognize little hints and make the first move. It's an incredibly nerve-wracking position to be in. My advice to girls would be, don't drop hints, say what you mean.